And now, Rate That Album, Season 3, with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Two guys who know stuff.
Hi, and welcome back to Rate That Album, back and forth album review between myself, Joseph Fremming, and my good old friend, Paul Muad'Dib. Paul, I got bad news for you.
What's that, buddy?
The jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
You take that back! You take that back!
That's a lie! That's a goddamn
lie! That's...
Yeah. Last week we did Two Live Crew. I wanted to reel it back just a few years before As Nasty As They Want to Be, when another album from the world of hip-hop shook America to its core. We're talking about NWA's 1988 album, Straight Outta Compton. Paul, what do you think white America was more afraid of? Sex or angry black guys?
I think it was black guys. It doesn't be angry black guys, right? I think that's why, really, Two Live Crew got the worst of it, because it was black guys rapping about doing hip hop about sex. So they went after him for both things. But I mean,
they went after NWA.
Oh, they were hard as well. Yeah, no, and they also, if I remember correctly, too. This was a little bit before this came out a little after Public Enemy, and they had their kerfuffle. I just think any brown people in general, dude, scares white America. And then I think sex is slightly a little bit more above that, but it's there. I don't think it's sex. I think it's other people having sex that scares white people.
Well, Public Enemy and NWA scared the shit out of white people. I would argue this scared America more, especially with the infamous track "Fuck the Police." We'll get to that, but let's talk a little bit about NWA. See, and this is kind of weird. I was listening to this, and then I watched a documentary on them the other night, and it's just crazy how much the world has changed and remained the same. Back in the late 80s, Los Angeles had like a kind of a glitzy image.
Mm-hmm.
The glitzy image, because it's built, Hollywood and celebrities, and you got the Showtime Lakers, and everything just seemed all on, just like surreal and great. But within California, you go to Compton. You go to Compton, the crack epidemic hits these poor neighborhoods hard.
Yep.
And one entrepreneur who wanted to break out of the crack, I don't know if he dealt crack, but I know he's a drug dealer, was Eric Eazy-E Wright.
Yes.
He wanted to start a band. And he decided he would float the money he had to create said band. He did not really have any intention of being in the band, and that band would become NWA.
That's crazy.
And he begins it with his friend Dr. Dre. They recruit Ice Cube, MC Ren, and DJ Yella, along with a few stragglers here and there. Arabian Prince was in it. He's on one track on the album. We'll discuss, but he's on the cover, but like that's about his involvement in NWA is peripheral at best. But he still made the album cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these guys started making music, and they were talking about shit. People, one, either had no idea what was going on, or two, it scared the shit out of them that they knew it was going on and they really didn't care until people started, like, people in NWA started saying, hey, this is fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they come out with an album called Straight Outta Compton. The album cover is them peering down upon the the buyer of the album with a gun pointed at you.
Yep. Iconic.
Iconic album cover. It deals with gang violence, police violence, drug violence, and it shook the foundations while at the same time but popularizing gangster rap.
Yes.
A genre that I imagine is still around, but gangster rap really had the winds knocked out of it a few years, not even, less than 10 years after this comes out, with the death of two high-profile rappers that we've discussed before with Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls.
Yeah, it really, I mean, in my mind, and again, this is to me, the golden age of gangster rap was like 88, 89 to like 97, 98.
Yeah. And you had like a lot of classics in that. You had Doggy Style. A lot of it was actually from people in this band.
Yes.
Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Eazy-E all had these solo careers where they put out fucking classic gangster rap albums. You had The Predator by Ice Cube, The Chronic by Dr. Dre. Dre's producing all these acts under Death Row Records, run by Fat Boy, I like to call him, Suge Knight.
Suge Knight, yeah.
He's a piece of shit, and I'll call him Fat Boy because he'll probably never see outside a prison cell again.
Yeah, no, he never. Yeah, no, he's never getting out. Yeah, no, you had that, and then you had like a lot of the people that they worked with or like were proteges, such as Snoop Dogg when G-Funk started coming around.
Warren G.
Yep, Warren G. Nate Dogg.
Warren G. I think is actually Warren G. I believe is Dre's stepbrother.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
something like that. He's related somehow.
Yeah, and then of course you had Tupac, Biggie, we talked about those ones, everything like that. Yeah, no, that was really, and then, on the other side, you had, the group that basically was, Public Enemy, Ice-T and that crew. And it was really that ecosystem that really was the highlight of gangster rap. Once that was gone, that was gone, in my mind.
But it served an important function, I think. And yeah, I think after a while it kind of glamorized this lifestyle. I'm not hearing a whole lot of glamorization of this on Straight Outta Compton. I think a lot of it is, this is fucking not right, but this is their life, even though it really wasn't. Like Eazy and Ren were probably the closest ever living this sort of lifestyle. It's heightened and cartoonish, much like as nasty as they want to be, and it's funny at times. There's times I'm laughing. The intentional funny, and sometimes it's just unintentional. Like just the way Ice Cube would just call a woman rejecting him a dumbass hooker.
Yeah, what's really interesting that you bring up there, and this is something that we haven't talked about the last two albums. I really feel like this is something that, should be discussed a little bit, is, there is this love of hip hop, this love of gangster rap. But what's interesting to me is the knots of misogyny in it that like people that normally shouldn't love hip hop do. And I always find that contradiction an interesting talking piece. But, again, I also look at it from the golden age of it. It was a different time, right?
Yeah. Yep. It was a different time. Yeah, I mean, hip hop, long history of misogyny in it. I don't know if it's any better or worse these days. I don't listen to a lot of modern hip hop. I imagine it might be a little bit better, but yeah, there's a lot of it on here. Same with as nasty as it want to be, but
yeah,
but when this came out, that was not the controversy surrounding NWA.
No,
this album comes out, and it's some minor radio play with some singles, but it's not until Fuck the Police blows up. Now, this song, they did a video. They did videos for like Straight Outta Compton and other things, and MTV wouldn't air it. just because it went against their their
white code, the white code.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, this is something I wanted to talk about too, but we won't do it on this one. But there's a lot of history with MTV having early. They had to have a percentage of what was white versus black artists because of where their demographic was and where they wanted to have the saturation for MTV. Yeah, there's a lot of internal memos there.
Yeah, well, let's just say after Fuck the Police and NWA blow up, that ratio probably changed because hip hop dominates, and it still does. It dominated MTV and radio. It still does to this day. But yeah, so Fuck the Police comes out, and it's it's controversial, but on the other hand, these guys kind of have a point. Compton at this time is notorious with police brutality.
Yep.
A lot of people really don't see that until a few years after this comes out with the Rodney King.
Yes. And I want to point out too, it wasn't just Compton. I mean, Watts had a huge problem.
Yeah. Four black neighborhoods had.
Yes.
Across the United States. These guys, they're talking about Compton. They're from there. That song becomes wildly popular, Paul.
Yep.
And NWA and their label, like the main label, like Ruthless, which was started by Eazy-E's, like the sub label, but the top label, gets a letter from the FBI accusing this song of inspiring deaths in law enforcement. And it's so ridiculous. And it became like, this is again, all of a sudden this NWA is on the news. And again, back in the day, it was big. It was pretty big if something ended up on the news. It's not like today where somebody could fart and be on the news. Back then it had to be kind of shocking.
Yes, absolutely.
And Eazy, I think he said, for what he invested in recording the song was like, maybe, invested in making the whole album, I believe was $8,000 to record the album. He said they got millions of dollars worth of free publicity from the FBI. Dr. Dre said it was one of the best publicity that you could ever have asked for because all of a sudden it's taboo. And there's a song about this profession that we're growing up to be taught that these are heroes and stuff. Like, whoa, maybe they're not.
Yeah, for I think a lot of white America, this idea of fuck the police didn't play into their world at all. And then to hear this and have this other side, now again, this comes to the whole, the what the concern was, the brainwashing of youth, right? Because you had the old people that were already indoctrinated. There was nothing that anyone was going to say that was going to change their minds on it. But here you have, again, you and I were, this came out in 88, so we were 7.
Yeah.
We were 7, and I knew kids that we went to school with that had this album that were playing it. I remember actually someone was playing it. One of the teachers had left the room. We were inside for recess because it was a really bad storm, and one of the teachers left the room. So one of the kids put it on the tape player in our 3rd grade classroom, and that was the first time I heard the album. And I was like just blown away. But yeah, later, like looking at it and realizing that this really was the first time that I think a lot of people were introduced to the fact that maybe the police aren't what you think they are.
No. Yeah. And then at least shortly after that, then you had Cop Killer by Body Count, which was Ice-T's hardcore. Suddenly, there was a lot of fear then. Because it was like all of a sudden, like, hey, why are these people really angry at the cops? And then Rodney King video, and it doesn't change, unfortunately, as we saw in 2020.
No. But if I remember correctly, Joe, now there was a time. Now, I think people forget because now cop cars, I think younger audience members and people that listen, and people outside the United States, now cop cars, they're all hidden at this point, right? Like there is no old school cop car anymore that's easy to tell it's a cop car anymore. At the time of this, it was very easy to see the police. Undercover vehicles were few and far between. And cops really just had a sidearm and that was it. And I remember this and the cop killer, and then talking about Rodney King, where there was a lot of bills that were coming out, by conservatives to arm the police. They need to be able to crack down on these things. And it became kind of this escalation war. And which is really interesting because again, there's this contradiction here of people that, the First Amendmenters, right? Like we need our guns to protect us from the police state, but we want to have our police officers armed as much as possible.
Yeah.
Which, you know what I mean? Like, again, there's this contradiction there. And I remember that the Rodney King and this whole era right here, this 1990, this 88 to about 94 was where the police really started to ramp up in firearms, what they're allowed to have. And there was a bunch of bills that were passed, and it kind of placated the way to where it is now, which is the police really aren't here to protect and serve anymore.
Yeah, it militarized them.
Yeah, the police are militarized in the United States now.
Post 9/11 didn't help either. When
no
security started shoveling money to these local law enforcements for like fucking tanks and shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was all it's all like a reaction. And again, I was watching the documentary and the controversy around all of this, and I'm thinking about I really started thinking about how these guys had to fight. They got arrested for, doing these songs in smaller areas, much like Two Live Crew. And I'm trying to think of these. I started thinking about today's troll conservative commentators who think they're being brave by using the wrong pronouns and fighting wokeism. And I'm like, you guys are not really standing for anything. These guys were risking getting the shit kicked out of them by cops.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. No. There was a different time. Again, I think has become, one thing I will say is people have become soft.
Yeah.
But people have become real soft.
You see these Ben Crowders trying to be all I'm edgy. You wouldn't be edgy enough to say something like fuck the police and do a song where you're basically glamorizing, beating the shit out of or murdering cops. Yep. At one point in the song with Ren, but Ice Cube going toe to toe in the middle of a cell.
I better bring a body bag.
There's also homophobia on this album. They accuse cops of being gay, and that's why they want to grab their nuts.
And again, that's let's throw that out there because of again, misogyny, homophobia. It's rooted in hip hop. I don't ask where it came from. That's not us being, biased. It's rooted in there. You look at a lot of early gangster hip hop. There's a lot of homophobia, homophobic slang, and a lot of misogyny. It's just what it is.
And my counter argument to that, Paul, would be these guys were too angry from their regular lives to give a shit about political correctness.
And this is the thing. Again, the song is called Fuck the Police. I think political correctness was thrown out the fucking window.
Listen to gangster, there's no political correctness.
No.
Sometimes there's, I don't like those, themes and shit, but sometimes it you have to acknowledge the time.
Yeah.
And where these guys were coming from.
And to me, honestly, there is, and I know people are going to jump on us and cancel us for saying that, there is somewhat, to me, a breath of fresh air, of the fact that there is some no political correctness that I go, man, yes, I understand this is hurtful, whatever, but it wasn't what it was in the time. You know what I mean? Because again, context is context.
Yeah.
And now when people are purposely being politically incorrect for it. It's because there's a hatred.
Yeah, and that's like, again, I go back to like the Ben Shapiro's or the Steve. There's a hatred towards gay people. Where this is just they're using homophobia as a way to humiliate the cops, make them feel like jokes.
Yes.
I'm sure there was also a lot of homophobia because, again, that was the time, and I hate using that as the excuse, but fuck, people weren't as enlightened in 1988 as they were in 2022. People just have to kind of grow the fuck up about that.
Yeah, and I will say again, it wasn't that they're saying kill, homosexuals.
Yeah, it's not fuck the gay people.
No, it's not. No, it's not fuck the gays. It's fuck the police. So again, it wasn't. Sure, there was some homophobia there, but there wasn't. What I want to make very clear is there's a difference between. Now I think homophobia because you think of the word phobia, fear, but it's not much of that anymore. It's a hatred these days. It's a hatred. It's not a fear. It's not a misunderstanding. It's not I don't get it anymore. Yeah. It's just a hatred. Where back then it was, I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's not our thing. And to be, down at the time, Joe and you and I, when we were kids, we called people gay as slurs all the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant that it was, it wasn't the act of it. It was the word was just, because honestly, we couldn't say fuck or shit or whatever. So everything was gay. Right.
Yeah. And a lot of times I use it as the meant lame.
Yep. Exactly.
But it was still, I still feel bad that I used the words, but
absolutely.
It's like, I can't go back and change it. And again, in 88, these guys are dealing with a lot of shit in their neighborhoods. Like, again, crack epidemic, police brutality,
poverty,
not wanting to offend people were not on their radar, and nor should it have been.
No,
this album should offend people.
That was the point.
And it came out. Yeah, it came out. It's going to offend you. Fuck you. They're mad. And they have every right to be mad.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They had every right to be mad.
Yeah.
And to take away from that and to make it about something else is really bullshit.
Yeah. And you got people also have to remember, like, when we were kids, we were told we were in a post-racial society in schools.
Yes.
In our school, when we were going to school, Paul and I, we were always told we're living in a post-racial society. So when something like this comes out, you're like, for me, it was like, maybe we're not.
Maybe we're not. No, 100%. No, you nailed it. And again, it was part, you had those kids, because again, a great point, Joe. We had assemblies about being in a post-racial society. And then this comes out, and when you had these kids that interpret it wrong. And we know those kids that interpret it wrong. You know the people I'm talking about who all too well, who look at that and go, rather than being critical and going, maybe we don't, they're looking at this going, oh, these people are drudging up and they're making problems that don't exist, because that's what their parents were telling them, and their parents.
And they still believe it to this day.
They still believe it, and they're putting that shit into their kids' heads, and it's sad.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the gist of NWA. Q Believe after this album. This is the only album really with the classic lineup. Q Believes because certain manager, white guy. You want to know more about him, listen to No Vaseline.
Okay.
His name is Jerry Heller. Q, as you can see in the credits, wrote a lot of this album, and he wasn't getting paid what he thought he was. And Heller came to him with a $75,000 check, and he's like, "This should be bigger." And the guy tried to tell him, like, "No." So he goes to he finds some lawyers, and it becomes a big thing. But he ends up getting his money, but it causes a friction with him and the rest of the guys. And then eventually, after the next album, they all kind of
here's a question that maybe you know about it, maybe you don't. Maybe this is something we'll get into maybe when we do some of these people's solo stuff. But I haven't watched the documentaries. When you watch some of the like the biopics and things like that, I always feel like I'm not getting the real story. You're always getting some. So what was the deal though? Because I know there was a big beef between Dr. Dre and Eazy-E, and I never knew what that was all about.
It was a creative difference and money.
Okay,
when they're making the next album, and then Dre wanted to be released from his contract with Ruthless so he could go and start Death Row.
Got it.
And Eazy was not going to allow it. So Suge Knight being Suge Knight, he makes a meeting with Eazy-E, and he shows up with a bunch of goons with lead pipes, and they threaten to they rough Eazy up allegedly until he signs Dre out of his contract. And they tried suing for that, and then I believe they settled out of court.
Okay.
But that was it. But it was like, and then Dre, because he was frustrated, he did a song on the Chronicle called Dre Day that makes fun of Eazy-E.
Yes. Yep.
In the video, he's Sleazy-E.
Yes.
And then Eazy-E came out with an album which featured a prominent photo of Dr. Dre back when he was in like this R&B flashy band, and he's like wearing a glittery doctor's outfit. Just basically call him out because he's not gangster. Again, like of all the guys, I think Ren and Eazy were the only ones that are actually at least part of that lifestyle. I don't think they were actually in gangs, but they were slinging dope and shit like that.
Yep.
And then you go to Death Row, and like that was the downfall of Death Row. I think was getting so immersed into the gang culture that the inmates started running the asylum.
Yeah, Death Row. That's an interesting thing.
Death Row it made a lot of money until it became a shit show because Suge Knight played with gangsters, and then the gangsters kind of started running shit.
No,
he's a big guy, but he's not going to take on the Bloods.
No, I know that I know a little bit because Eazy-E's death was one of the things that really stuck out to me because he was one of the first really prominent. Him
and Freddie Mercury were the first. I remember dying of AIDS.
Yes,
Mercury was a few years. Eazy-E got it, and it hit him fast. It was like rapid. Like he went to a doctor with a cough, and then like I think it was like a few weeks later, he was on a ventilator. And another thing, people, I think it's shocking to hear that, but you got to remember back then they didn't really know how to treat it. There were cocktails like we have today. People with AIDS, even though it's still a highly deadly disease, but the cocktails, at least the medications, keep you as best as it can.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't really, as far as I know, that wasn't.
No.
Back then, it took him fast.
Well, and I was going to say was that it wasn't until also Eazy-E's death that, again, sign of the times, the myth was that AIDS was a homosexual disease, which is why Freddie Mercury died. All these other people died. It was for a while. It was believed that straight people couldn't get it. And if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't until Eazy-E getting it that public opinion of that changed. And they're like, oh, shit.
I would say him and then Magic Johnson getting HIV.
Yes. And Magic Johnson, I think, came a little after Eazy-E, didn't it?
I think it might have been before, honestly. I think because he was on, because that derailed his. I think it was like maybe 92, 93, but yeah, it's around the same time.
Okay, so it wasn't around.
Public's perception of AIDS kind of started.
You're right. No, I looked at the dates. You're absolutely right. Magic Johnson was before Eazy-E. You're right. Okay, for some reason I had that reversed in my head, and I'm not sure why.
It's a fucking deadly disease, man. Like, fuck.
But what I was going to say was that I know that there's some beefs between some of the people, and I think it was Ice-T or Ice Cube. He had beef with both. Eazy-E did, but I want to say he kind of before he died, he made amends. But I don't think he ever did with Dr. Dre. I don't think he and Dr. Dre ever decided to get back and be like, "Hey, I'm dying, Dr. Dre." And I think Dr. Dre was like, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah. No. So here's this. So Eazy-E goes to New York, and he starts chatting with Ice Cube, And they actually start talking about an NWA reunion.
Okay.
At the time, Dr. Dre was in jail on a gun charge.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So what happens is, between that time, Easy finds out he has AIDS. He's in the hospital, and they put him on a ventilator. And I believe Dre went and visits him. And it's kind of haunting him to this day because he didn't even really get to speak to him because the guy had machines breathing for him.
Oh, Christ.
He visits him. So, like, he probably said his amends, but, if Easy heard it or not.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. It's one of those things where it's like, if you think about it, maybe holding beefs isn't the best idea in the world.
No, I don't. I know holding beefs is not the best idea in the world.
Because you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, so let's do track by track now.
Oh, let's do track by track. Track.
Yeah, we got all the fun stuff out of the way there. So let's talk the opening of the album, Straight Outta Compton, which begins with Dre saying, "You're about to," what's it say? Whatever. It's the album out. You're about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Yes.
And then boom, boom. It just kicks it off. Kicks it off.
Yep. Straight Outta Compton.
Motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Now, I wanna bring up the difference between what I feel like, because we did, 2 Live Crew and this one. One of the things that we had a problem with 2 Live Crew was that they had all these members rapping, but there wasn't really a good distinction. There wasn't a sound there. I will say this, in terms of the beats, and you may disagree with me, I prefer that Miami beat. I really, really do. I love what they were doing there. Compared to this, I felt the beats, but what makes this a much stronger album is, first of all, obviously the content, but the fact that each person is coming out. It's Ice Cube. It's Ren. It's Eazy-E. Like, this is to I think newer audiences, this is what the original Wu-Tang was.
Yeah, it's they all have distinct voices.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, when we're talking about 2 Live Crew, they didn't really have that or much personality. There's personality up the ass on that. Yes, there's personality up the ass. So that's one of the cool things about it. Now, again, I'm not going to say they didn't do things because, this had James Brown, this song had James Brown, they had the Funkadelic, it had Rodney Hudson, they did the Winstons, they had David DMX. So there's Wilson a lot of samples. Wilson Pickett. So they had a lot of samples going on this one. Yeah.
And again, as you mentioned, Ice Cube wrote was a writer on almost every song, I think minus 2 or 3.
Yeah, those are probably the weakest on the album.
And we'll discuss that. But my God, I mean,
this kicks it out, man. It just boom, straight out of Compton. They're mad and they're talking about fucked up shit. It's a really powerful intro. Like, the first 3 songs on this really just hit you hard.
Yes,
first 4, I would argue.
First 4, I would argue that as well. Yeah, no. Start to mumble. They want to rumble. Mix them up, cook them in a pot like gumbo. Again,
the crime record, like Charles Manson.
Right. And AR-7 is the tool. Don't make me act like a fucking fool. So now, what I think is the difference between this and, again, what we're doing with 2 Live Crew. 2 Live Crew knew that they were being funny. I think there's some juvenile things in here, but this is meant to be a statement.
Yeah.
There's the difference. They're
coming out with something to say.
Yes. It's not just juvenile sex humor. These are guys that, you could tell a difference between, again, going up Miami, being on the beaches and having a fucking kind of a easy life in that situation versus growing up in the poverty-ridden ghettos of California. 2 very different ways of growing up, 2 very different styles of lyrics and rapping. Yeah.
But this really kicks it off, and I love the interchange between Ren and Cube and Eazy. And for my personal favorite, rappers, like Eazy-E and Cube are like in my top 5. I love Eazy-E because he has such a distinct voice. That's another thing that I think Dre's good at finding, because he does that again on the Chronic with Snoop. Very distinct and very not of the norm at that time. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. And I will say that I think Eazy-E, to me, he is the ODB of the NWA. He was
kind of like the hype man. Like when they play live shows, he would come out in Jason masks and everything. Kind of like what Flavor Flav was doing too.
Yeah. Yep.
But kind of like a little bit of the comic relief. Again, it should be stated, he had no interest in actually being a rapper.
That's so funny.
He wanted to just get the band started, finance them like as a legitimate business venture. And when they started recording the track "Boys in the Hood," which will end up on his solo album. Yeah, it was tough to record, but like when Ice Cube, when he heard it, because he wrote the song, he was just like, "Holy shit!" Like, because it's like that's a voice, man. Like he has a very distinct voice.
Oh God, yeah, and that's one of my top favorite gangster rap songs of all time. Boys in the 100%. It's so fucking iconic.
I think later on with 8 Ball is kind of in the same vein too of Boys in the Hood. But,
yes.
Again, it's written by Cube, so it's going to have that. Let's go to Fuck the Police, Paul.
Fuck the Police.
I remember when this became popular, and again, it was on the news, and it was shocking for my little white ass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Like, holy shit.
My
brother had the tape, too, so.
See, now, I had 2 sisters. My sisters didn't have the tape, but again, a guy we went to a guy now, but he was a kid when we were in 3rd grade, had this and was playing it. And, I remember just being eye-wide. Again, because I had brought it in... I had brought in my They Might Be Giants tape. And here this kid's got fucking, NWA straight out of Compton. 2 very different things.
Yeah. People probably thought that other kid was the edgier one, Paul, but I would disagree. Like, knowing you over the years, you have a hard edge over that guy.
I know the guy now, and I do. We'll talk
He's
about
a car dealer in Branson, Missouri.
Well, no, you're not far off. We'll talk about it when we're done here, and you'll laugh when you know who it is. But yeah, no, this is great. Like, this is one of the things where the sampling's coming in, and you got the trumpet in the background, right? And they have the right about now, NWA court is in full effect.
Yeah,
Judge Dre presiding, so good.
Yeah, and it's NWA holding the LAPD or the police department on court. They put them on trial in this song, and they find them guilty, and they're each. Cube and Ren and Easy all have their grievances.
Oh yeah, some of the things got it bad because I'm brown and not the other color, so police think they have the authority to kill a minority. And again, we're gonna get into this because we're just gonna say what the lyrics were, but I don't know if the fags or what searching a nigger down to grab his nuts. That's one of the things we talked about. Now, one of the craziest things that they talked about too, which is really I think eye-opening and scary, was they bring up the fact of the don't let it be a black and a white one, because they'll slam it down to the street top, black cop always showing up for the white cop, which was like, whoa.
It's whoa. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's whoa.
But I also want to say, because of how at the beginning of the song, you have something to say to Cube, and he says, "You're goddamn right." I say that all the time.
Yep.
Whenever somebody has like, you have something to say about the show, you're goddamn.
You're goddamn right. Yes.
It's such
Yeah,
It's one of those unintentionally hilarious things to me. It was just like, you got, like, just this guy's, I'm just picturing Cube walking in a courtroom just fucking pissed.
you goddamn right. And what's interesting is, again, the scratching the record. You don't hear that a lot anymore in modern rap and hip hop.
I miss that, honestly.
I miss it a lot too, because fuck the police. Fuck the police.
And they're sampling Ruthless Villain by Eazy-E.
Yeah.
The rest they're sampling Eazy-E songs.
They're sampling Eazy-E songs. James Brown, Fancy, Roy Ayers. Yeah. Marva Whitney, William Devon. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah. Funky Drummer has got to be one of the most sampled songs of all time. It's like at least of this era, every hip hop album, I swear.
Yeah, Funky Drummer, absolutely. And you know who's also, we'll talk about next song, is Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was sampled like in every goddamn hip hop thing ever, rightfully so. Yeah, no, this was this. I mean, I think this scared people right out of the gate because it's angry. It is angry. Yeah, and you get into it where Ren and Eazy-E, are straight up talking about killing a cops. So you've got that. But yeah, the jury found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker. Wait, that's a lie. That's a goddamn lie. Fuck you, you black motherfucker.
I swear they found the whitest sounding guy they could find.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it sounds like your buddy in Branson, Missouri.
Right next to Trent. He's working for Trent Auto. Oh my god. Yeah. So that's an inside joke, by the way, guys. So we were Joe, I remember Joe was looking up stuff like bands and stuff like that. So he went to Trent.com thinking it was going to be something around Nine Inch Nails, and it was a car dealership. So, yeah.
The early days of the internet, man.
Early days of the internet. So next we get as a Gangsta. Another
banger of a song, man.
Such a classic.
The production on this, I love.
It's so good. This is, yeah.
Basically a story of these guys, going to a club and getting rejected by women and fucking causing violence and shit.
I don't think this was a single, and it should have been.
It was.
It was a single. It was a single. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, good. I don't think not many radio stations are going to play it. I mean, there's only so much censoring you can do of a song.
Yeah. No, but I'm glad this was
one. You just get the intro beat, and that would be it. It'd be like a 20-second song. That was NWA's Gangster.
Before we go to commercial, here's NWA Gangster. Boom, 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 boom. All right. We'll be back after this.
This is another one where I love Easy. Here's a gangster short in size, t-shirt and a pair of Levi's.
So good.
Oh god, is this also like where it's like, and bitches, I'm talking to you. We want to fuck you, Easy. I want to fuck you.
Fuck you too.
It's just hilarious. He's like, yeah, no shit, I want to.
I forgot about this song because when that happened, I immediately went, oh shit, that's right. Natalie Portman got that from this fucking song. That's right. For Natalie Portman rap. That's right. Shit.
It's just, I love, like, Easy again. He's like, his rhymes are hilarious.
His rhymes are.
He's got like that funny personality too. I want to fuck you too.
We want to fuck you. I want to fuck you too. Because you see, I don't take no shit. So let me tell you, motherfuckers, who you fucking with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, so good, so good. All right. Next, we got If It Ain't Rough.
This is MC Ren solo.
Yes, I think.
He probably has the least amount of personality in his rhymes, but it's still good.
Yes,
I still like MC Ren a lot. It's just, it's kind of hard to stand out when you have such big personality voices like Cube and Eazy-E. The person who suffers the most on this from that is Dr. Dre, which is kind of weird saying Dr. Dre's the weak link on an album. but it's kind of he's great on the production side, but when he's on the mic, he's historically been bad.
Yeah, we'll get to that because there's a particular one that I think is a song that's later in the thing that really points out to that. But let's keep in mind that now they're sampling Eazy-E again, but they're sampling Public Enemy.
Yeah.
And they're sampling their own shit.
yeah. They sample straight out of Compton and Quiet on the Set, which comes later.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then A Star in the Ghetto by Average White Band. Yeah.
We talked about this with the Two Live Crew. Is like I missed those days where they rap bands sampled other rap bands because they also sampled Beastie Boys.
Yes, they do.
Gangster samples Girls.
Yep.
And Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick. I mean, like, I miss that. There's just kind of like nice little nods.
Yeah, and let's say, I do want to bring up that because you mentioned, Funky Drummer being one of the most sampled albums or songs, and I think it is, but one of the most ripped off or sampled lyrically, or it was and is, and I think always will be Slick Rick.
Yes.
At some point, we are going to get to Slick Rick.
Yeah.
Because this, and you've heard us talk about him quite a bit, but I think Slick Rick was and is the quintessential godfather of rap.
Oh yeah, yes, without a doubt. We will do Slick Rick. I love me some Slick Rick.
I love me some Slick Rick.
And we'll also at some point do Africa Bambaataa.
Oh, thank God.
Planet Rock is another one of those albums you just have to listen to. It's. But yeah, It Ain't Rough really showcases Ren. It's really, I like it. I like this a lot.
Yeah, Ren is a villain, and you're just a hostage whenever I step and cover your head like an ostrich. I mean, again, there is a juvenileness to these lyrics, but which is, I think, a testament to the genius of it.
They're also in their late teens, early 20s too.
Right.
Like, it kind of comes with it. But they're also talking about subjects that it's unfortunate that they didn't know a lot about.
Exactly, right? Because there's this, and I think this circles back to what I've always said, and I think you've agreed with me, is that humor is where a lot of people handle things. That you got to have some humor in order to get through it. Yes, they're angry. Yes, they're doing that. Yeah, they're throwing in the humor, but it's not to take away. It's a coping mechanism.
Absolutely. You and I use that too. Like, we don't say it on the podcast a whole lot, but if people just saw our messages to each other about politics, they'd be like, you guys are fucking nuts.
Yeah.
You guys are saying the wrong things. It's like, well, I need to process this, and the best way for me to process it is with humor. Not everybody's humor, but like the kind of humor I need to process shit.
Yes. 100%.
If people saw our Madison Cawthorn.
Oh my God. Yeah, people did see that. They would think that you and I were just horrible human beings, but really, they are.
All right, now we go to parental discretion is advised. This is kind of takes a dip a bit. Even though it has all of them, and I think a lot of it is Dre on the mic for me.
It's Dre on the mic, and also, this is another band, Isley Brothers. The Isley Brothers is another group that gets sampled a lot. Yeah. And there is something about this, and I think, when you're going to come out with what you have, right, and you have this anger, and you have this thing, and I think you and I have talked about it a little bit off air, is you can only maintain that level of intensity for so long. Eventually the adrenaline's going to come down. Eventually you're going to have things where it's not going to be as angry as where the previous things were. And I can't imagine them having an album where it's just, 10 songs, 11 songs of just flat out pissed off. This to me was more of a, making fun of, the whole, again, the parental, the PMRC.
Yeah, PMRC, the tipper stickers.
The tipper stickers. This is just making fun of that. Everyone thought that was a joke. It
sold more albums that way. More albums were sold with the parental advisory sticker on them than the censored versions, which, duh.
Yeah.
No shit. And we should also mention the DOC's on this, and the DOC is a rapper, and he is also instrumental in the lyrics throughout this album with Cube. So
Yes,
and like every rapper, like every a lot of popular rap songs throughout this time, like the DOC, no one can do it better.
Yeah, the DOC is fucking. I mean, DOC, for those that know, worked with Erykah Badu, worked with NWA, Snoop Dogg, Dre. I mean, the DOC is a talented motherfucker, also known as Doc T.
Yeah, and he's and he's got his fingers in all of this, and people probably know him just because he gets shouted out all the time. But yeah, he's pretty instrumental in a lot of that hip hop of this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so now let's go to 8 Ball, Paul.
Oh Christ!
One of the weirdest day drinking adventures you can ever think of.
This song's fucking hilarious.
Eric, your breath smells. Bitch, who you calling a bitch?
Who you calling a bitch? I love it. And they call out, the Beastie Boys. I don't drink Brass Monkey. I like the beat funky. Nickname Easy E, you 8 Ball junkie.
I'm assuming 8 Ball was a brand of malt liquor.
I don't think 8 Ball was a brand of malt liquor, sir.
I think it was because he's actually talking about drinking 8 Ball. I'm pretty sure it was a malt liquor.
Let's look. I'll look this up.
He's got the 40 ounce in his lap and it's freezing his balls, Paul. I don't think cocaine's gonna do that.
Oh yeah, you know what? It was the nickname of Oldie.
Was it?
Yeah, it was the nickname of Oldie 800. Yep.
The more you know, Paul.
The more.
Yeah, it's a day drinking story from Easy's perspective.
Yep.
You see, you're Easy hurling in the parking lot. Like, it's hilarious. He's like trying to be tough, and like everybody's like, "What the fuck?" Goes to the liquor store. He had to pulling out a gun.
So yo, man, you're easy hurling in the parking lot. Tell your homeboy you want to kick my butt. I walked in your face. We get him up. I start dropping the dogs and watch you fold. You just dumb, full of cum, and got knocked out cold.
This very kind of has the same vibe of Boys in the Hood for me.
100%. 100%.
A lot of it even samples Boys in the Hood.
Yes. Yes.
Eric B. and Rakim, Cool Mo D, Public Enemy again, Beastie Boys.
Yep.
A lot of Beastie Boys songs.
A lot of Beastie Boys.
Which is awesome.
The Pointer Sisters.
Yeah. Cool in the Gang. Gang. This was before. And you talked about like how you think Miami is like how you like the beats, and I agree with that. If West Coast stuck with this, like I like it, but it's also, that Miami had that vibe until the Chronic and then that G-Funk era of hip hop. I really love that.
I love the G-Funk era. Yes, yeah. I will completely agree with you. The Chronic, Dr. Dre did change the game with the Chronic. Yeah. There's no question about that.
I do love I miss the samples and scratches. This one is just like, on this album, the samples and scratches just, turn up Marvin Gaye's greatest hits or whatever, and you hear Marvin Gaye in the background. That might have been Boys in the Hood. Whatever.
No. This had Marvin Gaye. Marvin
Gaye.
Yep.
Let's get it out. Yeah, he's like crank up the Marvin Gaye's greatest hits, and then like in the background you hear like him singing. Let's get it
on. Yes. Yep.
So it feels like immersive with the story. I love that. That to me is really clever, and it speaks to how great DJ Yella and Dr. Dre were at production.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, I'm not saying they weren't as good. I'm just saying, there was the beats were different, but no, the fact that they were able to take what was going on and interact with it in the with the beats and the background and everything and incorporate it in. No, there's a talent to that, and it's sorely missed, at least in my eyes.
Yeah. So now we get to something like that. Not my favorite. Again,
No.
It's not Ren's fault. It's going to be this and Compton in the house where it falls on Dre and Ren, and Dre is just he's not an MC, and I think he was wise reeling that back with on the Chronic. Like he's on some of it, vocal, but like he really relies on much more talented MCs because he was much better, obviously, in the producer seat.
Yeah, he's much better behind the seat than he is in front of them, behind the mic than he is in front of the mic. Yeah. And that's not a shot at him. Again, there's talent there, but the problem is he's surrounded by such
he's surrounded by Ren, Ice Cube, and Easy.
Right. Where in that powerhouse, it's he gets drowned out, and it's it's what it is. But it just goes to show just how fucking strong of a group this was. Again, when Dr. Dre is your weak link on the mic, it just goes to show how strong everyone else is.
Yeah. And then we go actually, ironically, into a hit single which had Dre on the mic, Express Yourself.
Okay, this is the one that I was talking about where, yes, Express Yourself.
This was actually snuck in as a successful hit on MTV after Fuck the Police made it popular, and it's catchy enough. I would argue.
It's catchy enough, but this is the one I was talking about. I was like, man, it should have been, honestly, it should have been E or Q, but
nobody would believe the not smoking pot part.
And that's what I was going to bring up.
Or Cube, because Cube was already talking about smoking weed out.
Yeah, I think that was, because Dr. Dre comes out, right away. Now, again, you could call us what it is, Now getting back to the PG, that's the program. It's easy. The Dre's back. New Jacks are made hollow. Expressing the ain't their subject because they like to follow. I mean, there's a thing there, but Dre, ironically enough, I mean, when he comes out with the Chronic, he comes out hard.
Yeah. It's basically him on a cover of Zigzags.
Right.
But I think this also benefits. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it holds up for me better than the song before it because the writer is Ice Cube.
Yes. However, to sit there and say, I still express it, I don't smoke weed or cess because it's known they gave her brother brain damage. And you're going, all right, Dre. Dre.
And I think in real life, he didn't actually smoke pot until he started hanging out with Snoop and was recording the Chronic. So I think at least that part is actually true.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give the benefit of the doubt. But this guy put out an album called The Chronics.
Yeah. I think it really he smoked a marijuana cigarette, and all of a sudden G-Funk just
came out.
Yeah, it just came into his head I got to do that.
Imagine we had smoked weed on this album then. We would have started with G-Funk.
Now we're Compton's in the house. Again, Dre kind of bringing it down. MC Ren can only do so much, I would say.
Yep. Again, completely agree. You and I are on the same wavelength on this album.
Yeah. And then we get into one of
I ain't the one.
I ain't the one. You're thinking lobster. You want lobster? I'm thinking Burger King.
Yeah, I ain't the one.
Basically, it's calling out gold diggers, which I mean, you know what? Not all women are great people. There was definitely a lot of gold diggers out there, and if you are offended by the concept of this song, maybe you're a gold digger.
Well, I will bring this up. I mean, again, you had, and it's not just NWA. I mean, you had Kanye. I mean, it goes as far as all the way up to Kanye, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You have, and a gold digger to me is not even just a woman, right?
Yeah,
in a way,
both sexes.
It's both sexes because you have those It's basically the hang-ons, right?
Yep.
I mean, when we were in our band, we started to have some people hang around with us, not because they were whatever, but because there was this chance that we could have taken off. You know what I mean? Like, oh, these guys are in a band. We should kind of hang around and see where this goes. You know what I mean? 100%. Like, especially if you're in the hood and you're coming out of doing rap and things like that, you're going to be surrounded by by gold diggers, both on the female side and on the male side, women trying to be the girlfriend or whatever and get all the money. And the friends are going to be like, hey man, I can get all the free smoke because these guys are fucking worth a bunch of fucking money. Yeah.
It's also just hilarious.
It's a fucking great song.
Fucking great song.
Fucking great song.
And which, and again, it's like this really stands out that we haven't heard from Cube in a while on this album because he comes out and it's fucking great.
Yeah,
this and then Dope Man.
And then Dope Man, yes, Dope Man is great, and that sampling
My Posse by CIA, which was the group Cube was in before NWA.
Yeah, oh, I did not know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrote Boys in the Hood while he was in CIA. They tried to sell it to a New York hip hop group, and the New York hip hop group said they really couldn't do it because they're referencing too many California things. So he had him and Dre had Eazy do it.
That's fucking fantastic. Yeah, no, Dope Man. It's it's a short one. It's I love it though. She's called Strawberry, and everybody know. Jesus Christ!
It is really. I love the God when Dre and Eazy are on a song together.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you have the two distinct voices, and it's just two big distinct voices.
It's fucking fantastic. Yeah. Cube and Eazy-E on the same track. Fucking genius. Yeah.
I wish we could have gotten more of that.
It would have been nice. It would have been, I don't think Dre should have been as prominent as he was, but it is what it is. And again, I'm bringing up the fact that E really didn't want to be on the mic.
He wasn't really interested in it. He was really shy about it too at first, and so. I mean, and I don't blame him. He's not a performer. If you're not a performer and people are asking you to perform, you're going to be like, what?
Well, which is crazy because he turned out to be a goddamn really good performer.
Yeah. No shit.
I mean, fuck, for a guy they don't want to do it.
It's some prodding, man, sometimes.
Next we get quiet on the set, Joe.
Yeah.
At this point, I really felt like these last two. I mean, you had Arabian Prince on there, but I feel like this also, not nearly as suffers as much as the fucking 2 Live Crew did with how many tracks. But this could have been. I think you could have dropped 3-4 tracks on this, and this would have been, fucking the perfect length.
Yeah, you could have dropped Quiet on the Set in the next song, Something to Dance To, and Something to Dance To by Arabian Prince. It's basically like with the last track on the 2 Live Crew album. It's just like a DJ set. So, I mean.
Yep.
But, it is what it is. It's perfectly fine. It's just, the momentum's starting to wane here. Good thing it wasn't a double album.
God, no. The fuck. Could you imagine that? No, absolutely not. Thank God it wasn't. And the thing I will make difference to this and to 2 Live Crew, the average song on this is about 4.5. You average it out, is about 4.5 minutes. 4.5 minutes. So I would say you average out the song. That's what you're getting with 2 Live Crew. I think your average length was about 3 minutes a song. So again, to show that they're able to really go on these beats and on these samples and rap and make it pertinent, I think also speaks to the writing of Ice Cube, especially, and the talent there. I'm not saying again that it wasn't talent on 2 Live Crew, but again, I think you can only sing about dicks and pussy for so long.
Yeah, it's a very limited.
It's a very limited. Where here, you're singing about a struggle, and you're gonna find anytime. I don't care. There's been a lot of conversation shit about this. You're gonna have the person that has a ton of struggle is always gonna have more to say than the person that hasn't.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah,
these guys all had a lot to say.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and they still do.
They still do. They still do.
They still do. God damn, Joe.
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of Straight Outta Compton, Paul.
Is there any question if I'm going to recommend this? I mean, absolutely, I'm going to recommend this.
Oh yeah, this is a stone cold classic. This is it holds up, especially like again, like fucking 2020, man. Like fuck the police. When I saw that video,
Yep.
first thing I thought was the song "Fuck the Police."
Yep, 100%. No, this is still pertinent. This is still relevant. It hasn't changed. And that's a goddamn shame.
It is.
That's a goddamn shame. I mean, this album turns 30 in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
the
I think
fact...
it's already 30, Paul.
Is it already 30? Because it came out in 88, so... It's my math off? Okay, it's turning 40. I'm sorry, it's turning 40. Yeah, you're right.
40, yeah.
It's turning 40. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, it's turning 40 in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and it's still fucking as relevant as it was when it came out. Now, that's the difference, right? I think when you look at Two Live Crew and what they were fucking doing, is it still relevant today? In a way.
I mean, sex is always going to be around. Paul.
Yeah, sex is always going to be around, but it's not as shocking. It's not as whatever. You know, people like.
Well, I'd argue some of that was just as shocking to me in 2022 as it was in 1992.
Fair enough. To me, it wasn't, but that's that edge.
Some of it was. Some of it for me was like, okay, wow, all right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, again, I have that edge over that car dealer in Branson. So it wasn't as shocking to me as where I felt this one was more pertinent.
Yeah, this one is, it's still an important album.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I think if both of these albums came out tomorrow, you know, if they hadn't been made and both these albums came out tomorrow, I think they still, in this day and age, produce the same shit show that they did back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck the Police came out today, like, yeah, it would be Fox News would be complaining about it.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a war 100%. On white people.
War on white people.
That bullshit would be coming out of their dumb mouths.
100%, sir. All right, so what do you guys have going on at the Joe Down?
We're hopefully next week we'll be reviewing MASH.
I'm so excited for you to watch that. That's fantastic. Okay. Well, Joe, I got two numbers for you. I got a 1 and a 2. Which one are you doing?
Let's do 2.
Okay, so we're going to stick with controversies.
I thought we were going to try to do it a little lighter. All right.
No. We are going lighter with it, though, however. Because the other one was a celebrity music one. But we're going to go lighter with it. This is an artist. This is an album that came out, caused some issues as well, and was one of their, actually the song on this album was rated for one of the Dirty 15 for the PRMC. We are doing Madonna's debut album, Like a Virgin. It's not her debut. It's her second.
I was going to say, that's not her debut.
Yeah, no, that's her second. Her first one was Holiday. That's right. Yes, we are doing Madonna's Like a Virgin, which was, that was her second album. And this is really one that put her on the map and caused a shit show. Did it not, Joe?
Well, yeah. Then Weird Al did Like a Surgeon.
Which brought us the wonderfulness of it. Yeah, no, there's controversy here, but not nearly as much as with the other ones. Again, that's why I chose this one, because it's far lighter content in terms of controversy. I mean, we laugh about it now, like, come on, but at the time, oh boy, people were up in arms over it. And we'll get really into that. Then I'll pick the next one, the other one, the number 1. I'll save that for my next pick then.
Okay.
And that one's pertinent as well, because like I said, it's a celebrity that does music, and it's someone that's pertinent. bet you can already know which one we're going to be
Bruce
doing.
Willis, Return of
It's
Bruno.
it's Bruce Willis, Return of Bruno. Yeah, it's Bruce Willis, Return of Bruno. Absolutely. But we're going to do like a version instead. So, but we'll do that one on my next pick. Joe, do you want to take us out?
No.
Fair enough.
This has been Rate That Album with Paul Muad'Dib and Joe Fremming. Thank you for listening.